Namo Buddhaya, boys and girls, welcome back. So today we are going to be learning our first story. The story's name is Apannaka Jataka. So Apannaka means the blameless path. So, as I mentioned to you all in the introduction video, we will be using a very special resource. So this is the book that I will be using. This has been translated by my teacher, Venerable Kiribadguru Jnanananda Thero. So I'm very grateful to have such a great teacher who helps me to understand the lives of the Supreme Buddha and the previous lives of the Supreme Buddha, so I could develop a pleasant mind towards the Supreme Buddha. So, and then it enables me to share my learnings with you all. And so hopefully you will be able to develop a pleasant mind towards the Supreme Buddha and gather so much merit to your lives as well. So are you ready? Shall we start then? Okay. So, boys and girls, you might have heard about Anathapindika Sittutuma. So, if you haven't heard about Anathapindika Sittutuma, he was the chief benefactor of the Gautama Buddha's dispensation. So, he lived in the city of Savatthi in India at the time when the Supreme Buddha was still alive. So, this disciple, Anathapindika, was a very meritorious person and he was very generous indeed. Do you know how he became generous? Oh, before that, do you know what generous means? So generous means, boys and girls, that you love to give gifts to the others. You like to, whatever you have, you gain so much happiness by giving. That's what generosity means. So maybe there are boys and girls who are watching me, generous as much as Anathapindika. Oh, after the story, you will develop a pleasant mind to practice generosity. So this Anathapindika was a very faithful disciple. One day he thought, after going refuge to the Supreme Buddha, so he thought he wanted to offer something, to give something to the Supreme Buddha and the Mahasangha, the monks. And he was wondering what to do, and then he thought, okay, so let me offer a monastery for the Supreme Buddha and the Mahasangha to dwell peacefully, comfortably. So he was looking for a piece of land around in the city of Savatthi, and then he came across this a beautiful garden filled with beautiful, humongous trees. But unfortunately, it was belonged to a prince called Jataka. So anyways, this Anathapindika, so out of so much happiness in his mind, Anathapindika went to see the Prince Jataka and asked him, dear Prince, I would like to purchase this piece of garden that belongs to you. Would you mind letting me purchase it? And then right away, Prince Jataka said, no, it's not for sale. I'm not planning to sell it at all. And then Anathapindika, he did not give up. He insisted. And then Prince Jataka thought, okay, so I need to come up with a plan to get rid of this person because he's troubling me all the time. And then he called up Anathapindika and said to him, okay, so you could purchase this land, but there's a deal. So you have to cover up the whole garden with gold coins, and then that's the price, right? And then I will let you purchase it. And then Anathapindika, but boys and girls, Prince Jataka said that because he thought that Anathapindika would never ever be able to do that, right? To cover up the whole garden with gold coins. So if you have ever been to India, if you have ever visited the Jethavanarama monastery, it's not a tent perch land where our houses are constructed. It's an acres of land there, boys and girls. So anyway, so Anathapindika brought, he was a very wealthy merchant, by the way. So he brought cartloads of gold coins and started to cover up the whole garden, which belonged to Prince Jataka. And then So while he was doing this, Prince Jeta came to see, because he, like I said before, he didn't think that Anathapindika was capable of doing such a great deed, right? And then there was one spot. So the most of the garden was covered with gold coins, but there was one part which was empty. So then Anathapindika was about to send one of his people, servants, to the back to his palace to bring more gold coins. And by this time, Prince Jeta had already had a very pleasant mind towards what Anathapindika is doing. So he said, "You know what, merchant? That's okay. Don't worry about covering up that empty space. So I will. You can have this piece of land, but on one condition." So he had a condition. So he said, "Okay, you could have this, but you have to name this monastery after me, using my name." So, and Anathapindika, boys and girls, see how generous he was, see the faith he had towards the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. So he said he agreed to that condition. He said, "Yes, fine, okay, I will name this monastery by your name." And he was very happy. So after purchasing the piece of land, Anathapindika constructed a beautiful monastery complex, which included the dwellings, we call them kutis for the monks, and there was a beautiful, like a very special kuti built for our great teacher, the Supreme Buddha. And then a walking a meditation path, the Dhamma halls, places for Bhantes to have Dhamma discussions, and for alms to have alms, and ponds and wells, etc., etc. And then, so one day, so this Anathapindika was a very wealthy merchant, and he had so many friends. So he had 500 friends. How many friends did you have, boys and girls? 500 friends. I don't have 500 friends. I don't know about you guys. So that's a lot of friends, isn't it? So Anathapindika his friends were wealthy, just as Anathapindika, but only thing is that they had not gone refuge to the Noble Triple Gem. In fact, they were following other religious beliefs. So, but out of compassion and kindness, Anathapindika thought, I need to help these people too. So one day he addressed all of his friends and then told them that, okay, so I have prepared all incense sticks, flowers, oil lamps, and robes to offer to the Supreme Buddha and the Mahasangha. So you need to come with me to go visit the Supreme Buddha. So because Anathapindika was very popular among his friends as a very kind and generous person, everyone liked him so much. So they all agreed to go with him to see the Supreme Buddha and the Mahasangha at the Jetavana's monastery. So they went to see the Supreme Buddha, and then out of so much compassion to all beings, Supreme Buddha preached the Dhamma, and so they all 500 friends of Anathapindika took refuge in the Noble Triple Gem, and they observed the precepts. So after that, on a regular basis, they would go to the Jetavana and offer alms to the Mahasangha, do all the cleaning, have pujas and stuff. So they were very happy. One day, the Supreme Buddha, boys and girls, we have to remember that Supreme Buddha, although Supreme Buddha had a very beautiful dwelling at the Jeta's monastery, Supreme Buddha does not stay in one place, because Supreme Buddha is the most compassionate being in the whole world. So Supreme Buddha travels to different places to preach Dhamma to everyone, right? So one day, the Buddha traveled to another city in India called Rajagaha. So after Supreme Buddha left, these Anathapindika's friends, one by one, they stopped coming to the monastery, and eventually all of them stopped coming to the Jeta's monastery to listen to the Dhamma, to offer alms. So Anathapindika was very, very sad about it. And then time went by like this, and these people, the 500 friends, they went back to whatever the things that they were practicing before. And then time went by, and the Supreme Buddha came back after some time. And then Anathapindika called up all of his friends again, and then took them back to the Jeta's monastery, and then told Supreme Buddha, Bhante, these people, when Bhante was here, they all had come to the monastery. They took refuge in the Triple Gem, and then they practiced generosity, offering alms, like offering gifts to the Sangha. But after Supreme Buddha left to go to the Rajagaha, all of these people stopped coming. And they had gone back to the wrong ways they've been practicing before. And then Supreme Buddha asked all of Anathapindika's friends, is that right? Is that right? Like that you had gone back to the wrong ways? And boys and girls, these people were very, very truthful. They all said, yes, Bhante, we did. Now think, boys and girls, although they had been asked by the Supreme Buddha, they could have easily said no, or they could have like just avoided that question, right? But they were very truthful, so they decided they must speak the truth. So then the Supreme Buddha addressed the merchants and said, householders, the reason for you to go back to your old weaves when I was away from the Jetavana's monastery is because you could not recognize the qualities of the Supreme Buddha. You could not recognize the qualities of the Dhamma. You could not recognize the qualities of the Sangha. So you had not established confidence in the Noble Triple Gem. So that's why you had gone back to your wrong waves when I was away for a very short time, right? And then again, Supreme Buddha said, even before, like in long time ago, there were people who had done the same mistakes and got themselves in great dangers. And soon as Anathapindika heard that from the Supreme Buddha, that there is like something happened in the past too, he rose from his seat and he requested the Buddha to preach that story. So Supreme Buddha said, okay, so once upon a time, a long time ago, in there was a city called Varanasi. So there was a king called Brahmadatta. What is the name of the city, boys and girls? Varanasi. And what was the name of the ruler? King Brahmadatta. So at the time, Bodhisattva was born into a merchant family. So his parents were merchants who used to travel from one city to another for businesses. They would bring goods to different cities and sell them. So Bodhisattva was born into a merchant family, and when he became a youth, he continued his parents' business. So he had 500 carts and boats, which means he was a very successful merchant, right? And sometimes he would go to the east for trading, sometimes he would go to the west for trading. So he was doing his business very successfully. So during this time, there was another merchant, but he was a little bit foolish and greedy, and he was a little bit selfish too. So he always tried to compete with other merchants, right? So one day, Bodhisattva prepared all of his carts and bulls and loaded up all the goods that he wants to trade, he wants to sell, and then got everything ready to go to travel. And then the same time, the other foolish merchant also got all of his carts loaded and got his bulls and everything prepared to go to the same direction. So Bodhisattva was planning to go to the west, and the foolish merchant also thought, okay, I'm going to go to the west as well. And then, so Bodhisattva got to know this, and Bodhisattva, boys and girls, very wise. Okay, so he thought, okay, so if both of us are going to travel in the same direction, none of us will get any profit, right? Because there are thousands, imagine, thousands of cartloads with bulls, and there are people, so you have to find water for all of these thousand animals and people, and you need to find parking for all of them to rest. So it's not going to benefit everyone equally. So Supreme Buddha thought like this, and then he went up to the other merchant, the foolish one, and asked, okay, friend, so if we all travel together, we won't be able to sell all of our goods, because like it will be shared between the two of us, and then we will have trouble finding water to for all the bulls and the humans, right? And it's going to be a little bit tough. So I think one of us should go first. And then again, the Bodhisattva asked, so which one do you think should go first? You or me? And then the foolish merchant thought, if I go first, I'll be able to sell my goods to a very good price. And then my bulls will have like fresh grass, and there won't be any trouble finding water. There'll be enough water on the way for my bulls and my people. So I shall go first. And then he said, okay, I will go first. Okay, myself and my cars, the 500 cars, will go first. And then the Bodhisattva said, okay, fine, you can go first. And then after saying that, so that the foolish merchant and his 500 cars took off to the other city. And then Bodhisattva thought, that's good that he's going first. So because when he goes, so they all have to travel forests, deserts and everything, right? So it's the roads are not already constructed like these days. So, and the Bodhisattva thought, okay, so when he goes first, so there's 500 bulls and cars, so they eventually the roads will be built. So it'll be easier for my people to travel comfortably. And then again, on the way, they will find places where there's water, and like my cows, my bulls will have fresh grass, and and then most of all, so when the first group when they go to the other city, they will set up all the prices. So I don't have to make a great effort negotiating for a good price, because the price is already set, right? See how wise the Supreme Buddha was, even as a Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva thought like that, and then so he waited. So the foolish merchant, so he took off, and so on the way, they had to cross a desert. So this desert, boys and girls, it's about 600 kilometers in length. It's 600 kilometers long. So what they didn't know was that there were demons living in these deserts. So the demons, when as the carts, the foolish merchant and the carts were entering into the desert, the demons thought, okay, so there are 500 carts coming with bulls and people, and we should wait for them to cross half the desert, and then we will go catch them. So they waited until all these carts come to the middle of the desert, and then they went in front of them. You know how they went? They didn't go as like demons with with scary faces. They disguised as humans. They had like wet hairs, lotus roots in their hands, lotus flowers on their hairs. They were singing and dancing. They seemed very happy. They did not look like demons at all. So, and then the foolish merchant was surprised. He was surprised to see such happy people, like with red hairs, like red clothes, and eating lotus roots, right? Because it's the midst of a desert. And then the demons asked the foolish merchant, so where are you guys heading to? And then the merchant responded saying that, well, we are going to the next city across the desert for trading. And they asked, like, what do you have in these carts? And then the merchant again replied, saying that, oh, we have goods like clothes, toys, etc., etc. And then the demon says, so what's at the very back of the cart? Like, those carts are big. And then merchant replied, oh, like we have all the water we need for these the people and the bulls, and the food as well. And then the demon said, are you crazy? Why do you have to carry all of those food and water in the carts? Look at us. Ahead, there is a beautiful ponds and like lotus root, filled with lotus roots, waterfalls. It's so beautiful. You don't have to torture your animals by carrying all these cartloads of water. So just empty all of those and travel comfortably, right? And then the foolish merchant did not think twice at all. He believed what the demons were saying, and he commanded to his group, saying that, okay, so did you hear what these people were saying? Let's unload all of our water and the food, because I mean, like very close by, nearby, there is a beautiful pond filled with lotus roots and lotus flowers. We could eat and drink water from there. So just unload everything. And then his mates, they all unloaded all the water and all the food that was in the cart, and they traveled. Boys and girls, they didn't have to go that far. They were so tired. It was so hot in the desert, right? So, and they were traveling and traveling and traveling, and they got so tired, and they did not come across any pond. There was not a sign of a pond to be seen at all. And they were so tired, and they all fainted, and they just lie down wherever they could. They fell, and they were lying down on the ground unconsciously. And you know what happened after? So towards the night time, the demons came back, and they saw all these people were lying down, all the bulls were lying down unconsciously, and they ate them all up. See what happened when you're selfish, when you're greedy, and when you don't think wisely. So that's what happens, boys and girls, and they got themselves in great danger. And then after that, so after about a month's time, the wise merchant, which is our Bodhisatta, and his group started their journey to the city across this desert. So, but this Bodhisatta, boys and girls, he was very wise. He knew, like, there's a desert ahead. They have to cross a very long desert. And as they were about to cross the desert, enter into the desert, he addressed all of his group members, the other merchants that were traveling with him, and said to them, remember, we are entering into this desert. This is very dangerous. There are demons in this desert. So do not drink or eat anything without my consultation. So without telling me, don't do anything. Don't eat or drink anything without asking me, my permission, right? And they all agreed. And then the whole group entered into the desert. So the same way, just like before, the demons were waiting for this group to come to the travel half of the desert. Again, they came in front of the group of merchants, and then the same way, disguised as humans with wet hair, wet clothes, lotus roots in their hands, and singing and dancing. They seemed very happy. And then they said the same thing to this Bodhisatta merchant as well. And they took off. And then, boys and girls, Bodhisatta did not get deceived by any of those things they said. But his group, the other merchants that were with him, they came up to the Bodhisatta and said, merchant, did you see, like they were eating lotus flowers, and they were eating lotus roots. They had like their hair wet and their clothes wet. Let's unload all the things that we have in our carts, and just let's travel comfortably. And then the Bodhisattva said to them, merchants, I observed them very carefully. I was looking into their eyes when they were talking. Did you see them blinking their eyelashes? Did you see them blinking when they were talking? And they looked at each other and said, no. And then Bodhisattva again asked, did you see any shadows? Like it was the midday, right? So you could see the shadow of everyone. So then everyone else says, no, there was no shadow from the demons, there was no shadow from the bulls or the cows. So there was nothing to be seen. And then Bodhisattva said, okay, so they said that it was raining, right? But then Bodhisattva said, merchants, if it's like, have you ever heard there's rain in such big deserted areas? They said no. Have you ever heard there are ponds in these deserted areas? They said no. And then Bodhisattva said, merchants, if it's raining, you could feel the cool of winds from 5 kilometers away, right? And then you could see the thundering from far away. You could see the lightning from far away. Did you hear or feel anything like that? And they all said, no, we did not hear or see or felt anything like that. And then Bodhisattva said, see, merchants, that's what I said. They were not humans. They were demons disguised as humans. They wanted to deceive us and then make us all tired and faint, and they could eat us all up. That's their plan. So don't get deceived by those things. Let's travel. And so they all listened to the Bodhisattvas. They were nice, eh? They were very obedient. They listened to their leader, because what the Bodhisattva said made sense to them. So they all traveled, and then after some time they came to a place, and that's where the Bodhisattva noticed that they were remaining of the previous group. They were bones, the pieces of bones all over the ground. So then the Bodhisattva said, see, this is what happened to the previous group. The demons have done the same thing to the previous group. These are the remainings of those merchants that traveled before us. So they all listened to what the wise merchant said. So the wise merchant asked all of his group to park the carts in a circle. So they did, and then gathered all the bulls into the middle of of that circle. And then they were all fed, the humans, the merchants, and the bulls were well fed. And then Bodhisattva gave swords to the merchants' hands and asked them to make a circle around the bulls and to guard the bulls throughout the night. So they did. And then the following morning, because Bodhisattva knew that demons would come in the night to see if they're all tired and fainted and they're all unconscious, so they could eat them, right? So Bodhisattva knew that. And then so the following morning, everyone was safe, the demons didn't come, no one was in trouble. So they had their breakfast, they took off to the other city across the desert, and they finished up all their work, their businesses, and then came back to Varanasi safe and sound. So after saying this story, boys and girls, so Supreme Buddha said, addressed the Anathapindika, saying, householders, see, the people who could not think wisely, they got themselves into great danger. But the merchants who thought wisely, he was kept from those demons who were waiting to eat them, right? Destroy them. And they did their business very successfully and then returned back to their home town. And then again, Supreme Buddha said, addressed all the merchants and said, so there are two principles in this world. How many principles are there? Two principles. One is called Apannaka, the other one is called Sapannaka. So boys and girls, Apannaka, the principle name Apannaka means the blameless path, the righteous path. So in this part, the Supreme Buddha said, when you hear something, when you hear someone saying something, like for example in this story, the demons were saying there are beautiful things, ponds in the midst of the desert. And then the Bodhisattva didn't believe that. He did not believe what he heard, right? And then, and Bodhisattva knew what he saw was might not be the truth, right? Like he saw these beautiful humans with wet clothes and singing and eating lotus roots. He knew, like in the midst of a desert, that might not be the case, right? So they think twice. So that's called Apannaka principle. And the Sapannaka is the complete opposite of that. You just believe whatever you hear from others. You just believe in things you see with your eyes. And what happens when you admit everything you see and you hear, boys and girls? You can get yourselves in trouble too, right? So we have to remember. So there are two principles in the world. One is Apannaka, the blameless way, the righteous way. The other one is Sapannaka, the wrong way, right? So after explaining these two principles to these merchants, Supreme Buddha again said that merchants, at the time, the foolish merchant was Devadatta and his group of people. And the wise merchant was myself. And the group was my disciples, the people, everyone who has gone refuge to the Supreme Buddha. And boys and girls, you know what happened to the 500 friends of Anathapindika? After hearing this story from Supreme Buddha, all of those 500 friends of Anathapindika understood that, okay, so we've made a mistake by going back to the wrong views. So that day onwards, they established their minds in the Noble Triple Gem. They took refuge in the Noble Triple Gem and became disciples of the Supreme Buddha. In fact, they all became stream entrants. And they were escaped from this, the bad worlds, like animal worlds, ghost worlds, like such worlds. So they were escaped from those worlds. See how fortunate they were, right, boys and girls? So let's look at the moral of the story. So boys and girls, first of all, we need to recognize the qualities of the Supreme Buddha, not just as the Supreme Buddha, even in the Bodhisattva life. Supreme Buddha knew what he was very skillful, he was very wise. He knew, he was a very successful merchant, first of all, and he knew, he had the knowledge how to do business. And not only that, so he knew on this way, he investigated. So he knew there's a desert on their way to the other city. He knew there were demons in the other city. He knew, he was able to identify like the whoever was disguised as humans, they were demons, because they didn't have, he knew demons don't have shadows, they don't blink, etc., etc. So he knew all of that. And then he knew there's no way that there are ponds and waterfalls and rain comes in the midst of a great desert, right? So he knew. So even as a Bodhisattva, the Supreme Buddha had this, he was the wisest among all, everyone, right? So boys and girls, that's why we need to develop a pleasant mind towards the Supreme Buddha, right? So we have a great leader. We have a leader who is telling us, who is teaching us how to choose the right way and the wrong way. So hopefully you will also be able to make right decisions in your lives too, because you meet lots of people in your life, your friends, and you hear things, you watch things with your eyes. So you have to make sure that you make right decisions. And again, when it comes to friends, see how kind Anathapindika was. He had gained lots of benefits from going refuge to the Noble Triple Gem, and he wanted to help his friends too. So we need to make sure that we find kind friends who think of the well-being of others. So boys and girls, I hope that you learned a very valuable lesson to your life and be able to apply those qualities that we learned today and be able to live a very, very successful life. I will see you soon. May you all be well and happy. Teruvan Saranai. Namo Buddhaya.